It's a new year, and I bet that many of us have the intention to write a book. Okay, I bet some of us had that intention last year too. So what happened? Well, our next guest is Cathy Fyock, the business book strategist, and she'll provide valuable tips on how to turn that book into reality. Actually, she'll double dog dare you to take action.
This is Chuck Gallagher with Voices of Experience, and okay, I'm looking at my guest. I know that you're hearing this, but I'm looking at my guest that has asked me about my book. This is Cathy Fyock, and everywhere you go, I'm seeing these buttons.
Yes.
You are the disseminator of
yes,
buttons.
Yes, I am indeed.
So, gee, Cathy, tell me about your book, and then let's talk about
Yes.
books.
Okay, that sounds great. I'm a book coach, and my two books about writing a book are the ones that I generally talk about because I love to help professionals write that book that helps them promote their business.
Okay, a couple of things. First, talk to us about the process that people typically are going to go through from head to written page and what normally that looks like in time.
Well, what I love to do is start out with a strategy session with my clients. And basically, it's aligning the strategy plan for the book and getting that in alignment with the strategy plan for the business. Sometimes when I talk to speakers, they have a great idea for a book, but it may or may not be aligned with their business strategy, which could be great if they have this book that they just have to write. But I'm all about helping folks write a book that helps grow their business. So that's the first step, is the strategic planning process. And then we get the structure laid out for the book. We get a timeline laid out for the book. And that's different for everybody because there are some folks I work with who absolutely have to have their book done by, fill in the date.
Right.
And it could be 3 months away. It could be even closer than that. Most of my authors are working with me and they want to get it done in about a year.
Okay. Let's go to the strategy side of this for just a second because
Sure.
You're inferring business strategy and what are the strategies that you typically see taking place with people who want to write books? Because, and I'm going to say something, okay, some people listening might say, it's the craziest thing I've ever heard, Chuck. It's your preconceived notion, but I don't know many people who make a lot of money off of just writing and selling books. So what are the strategies that people are typically looking at that motivate them to want to write the book?
Right, and you're right. I think if you're looking for pure book sales, you're going to be really disappointed. However, if you're writing the book to get a broader reach more people that you can then sell your services to. If you're wanting to up your speaking fee, a book is a wonderful way to do that. If you're wanting to have additional revenue streams, just another form of revenue. So you're speaking for an event and you sell them at the back of the room. Or you negotiate with your meeting planner and when they book you, you say, would it be helpful if everyone left the conference with one of my books? And the meeting planner says, oh my gosh, that's brilliant. And then you've just added more revenue to your pocket and given more value to the client.
I've written several books. I have found it's taken much longer than I anticipated. And at times, especially with the first book, I'm very proud of the content. Mm-hmm. I wish I had had someone like you to help me on the front side with the title, because while the title resonates for me, Second Chances, mm-hmm. it doesn't sell like I want it to, because someone said to me one time, it's actually pretty astute, they said, well, how many CEOs are going to be sitting in first class reading a book called Second Chances? Because it infers right. There's a problem.
Right, exactly.
That never occurred to me. No one ever said, well, oh my gosh, why don't you think of another approach? So what do you find whenever you're sitting down talking with someone to help guide them from here's what's in your head and what you really are connected to and you just think should be, to what really practically makes sense that's going to advance the business of that book or your motivation behind it?
Well, we may or may not get to the title of the book right away. That sometimes can come organically through the writing of the book. But I think it's important to really think in advance about how you want to position the book. So you're right, if you're selling to CEOs, thinking about them holding that book in their hand on the airplane probably is not a great strategy. So it's thinking about the target reader and making sure that your target reader is also your target client and that you're reaching your market that way.
Cathy, there's a thought process called blog to book. Mm-hmm. A lot of us are fairly active bloggers. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the presumption is that if I'm a fairly active blogger in a particular genre, let's say in my case it would be ethics in the medical field, mm-hmm. that I should be able to somehow pull those blogs together to write then a book on medical ethics. Mm-hmm. What's the experience that's now happening in the marketplace about people who blog and then repurpose those into a book?
Okay, well, several years ago at Influence, within a 24-hour period, 4 people came up to me and said, Cathy, I know I have enough content for a book because I've been blogging for a year, 2 years, 10 years, but I don't know how to make that happen, how to repurpose that content. And I said, I think that would be an easy thing, and I can definitely help you with that. So I have actually written my own blog to book, and I have helped now probably at least a half a dozen people create a blog to book book. There is a trick to it. I don't think you can just take 52 blog posts and throw them into a book and have it work. Perhaps if you wrote it the right way with sort of the end in mind, you might be able to do that. But what I've found is there are certain tips and tricks for that. For example, not every blog post that you write is evergreen.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
That's
so
good.
some may be really focused on a key event or a season, which may not work in the context of a book. Over a period of time, you may have repeated a message several times throughout the year because it's an important message that your targeted reader needs to hear. But in the context of a book, it's sort of redundant, it's just too much. Another issue is that you want to make sure that the format and structure has its parallel construction, so it all seems like it fits together and works together. So what I have found is that it's easiest to create a blog to book when you say, okay, I'm going to start now and I'm going to create a book by blogging very, very strategically over the next year, a weekly blog, and have that go into a book because you're having the end in mind. If you're sort of doing it the reverse way, which I've actually worked with several folks who've done this, it just requires a little more consideration, and we may have to build in certain pieces, we may have to edit some pieces, but I love the idea of repurposing writing.
What are the ways that people can create an effective book launch that really starts to draw that attention to the book, maximize the use of your tribe, etc.?
Yes. Well, first of all, you sort of begin the marketing of your book before you even begin writing it. So it really does start with that strategic plan and thinking about how you're going to use the book, how does it integrate in the business. So it's really beginning with the end in mind. And then it's throughout the book is thinking about, okay, let's be thinking about the marketing strategy and how does this play out. With my clients, I create an author mastermind group so that folks who are almost complete with their manuscript or are complete, maybe their book is even published already, have a forum of folks to come together and discuss, well, what are you doing and what has been your best experience? Most of my authors are trying to launch their books on a shoestring, don't have tens of thousands of dollars to invest in their launch plan, so are looking for the most cost-effective strategies to use now. And sometimes those of us who are doing it right now are the best resources. So we come together, what I do in my mastermind meetings, each session we have someone present their launch plan. So they actually have to prepare their launch strategy. They present it to the group. Of course, all of us are taking notes because all of us have books and we're interested in marketing it. And then we ask questions. Gosh, Chuck, you didn't mention a thunderclap campaign. Are you doing a thunderclap? You didn't mention how this ties into your database. Do you have a landing page or some strategy to link your readers to your book? So we're asking those kinds of questions, which helps you say, oh my gosh, yes, there are so many things I can and should be doing, and creating that cohesive plan.
For somebody that may be listening or watching on YouTube.
Yes.
But for somebody that may be listening, talk a little bit about Thunderclap, because I know that Dan Burris had a new book that came out, and he reached out with the through Thunderclap, which meant nothing to me at the time, but it was, would you be willing to allow certain things to be posted on social media on a such and such a date on the date of the launch of the book?
Right.
And sure, and you click one or two buttons. It was very simple,
Yes.
and it automated. So
Yes.
I'm still not sure I completely understand it, but for those people that heard the word Thunderclap and have no clue, educate us on Thunderclap.
Well, it's really super easy, but it's sort of conceptually it's a little hard to understand. I have done one myself, and probably half dozen of my authors have done Thunderclap campaigns with varying sorts of results. The beautiful thing with Thunderclap is it gives you a team of supporters, launch supporters. So you create your tribe, and basically you do it by going onto their platform, and you create your message, and then you send that message to your contacts, and you say, hey, I'd like for you, Chuck, to be on my launch team. Would you support me through Thunderclap? And if you say yes, you just click on a button, and it's super easy. It links automatically with your, I think it's Twitter and Facebook.
Right.
And it seems like there's one other too. And boom, it's instantaneous. And what happens then on the day of your launch or whenever you schedule your Thunderclap, it will go out to all of these folks who have signed up to be on your team, but will go out to all of their contacts. So instead of having 100 people, like I got over 100 to sign up for my Thunderclap campaign, instead of having just a reach of 100, basically my reach was like 250,000, which I understand from some of my NSA friends. They've had several million followers. So it's a really easy way to expand, magnify your social reach.
Cathy, thank you for taking the time to join us.
Thank you. It's been
appreciate
fun.
it, and the wealth of knowledge that you've been willing to share.
Have you ever been double dog dared? Did it help you take that leap of faith and accomplish something outside of your comfort zone? I want to double dog dare you to write your book. You have a passion, you have expertise, you have valuable experience that can help the world. So I double dog dare you. Write your book. You can make the world a better place, one word at a time. I'm Cathy Fyock, the business book strategist, and I double dog dare you.